Now we reach an even more elite group of people, people who have made major contributions to the college already over the course of their career. And just looking at how youthful they all look over there, they have major contributions still to make to the college in the coming years. To be promoted to full professor is a significant honor for a faculty member. It's one of the biggest honors that you can receive, certainly in my career. It was one of the great milestones in my career, and I think it is for these people as well. All of them have undergone a very intense scrutiny, and their accomplishments are very, very large, and they richly merit being promoted to these ranks. So with these people, I'll call them up one by one to receive their promotion, and congratulations from the president. And if they wish to say something at that point, they are all warmly invited to do that. So I'm going to be calling them off in alphabetical order, and I'll begin with Evan Balkin. Next is Jonathan Grimes.
Good morning, everyone. It's tough to follow up Professor Balkin's piece, but I'll do my best. That has to be the best I've heard in my time here. First, I just wanted to say thank you to President Kurtenitis, the vice presidents who I see around here today. These last couple of years have been very busy for me, and they've been a tremendous source of help to me in a number of ways. I've been able to lean on them. First and foremost, though, I have to tell you, I am a person of faith, and I can assure you that I would not be standing here today without a lot of help from the good Lord, who basically took a pretty big spatula and scraped me off of the ground about 7 years ago. I can honestly say I don't know that I'd be standing here with you. Next, as I'm sure you can imagine, I owe a lot to my parents, not just financially, but in terms of guidance and support. I wake up just about every day grateful that my parents cared enough about myself and my brother and my two sisters to encourage us, to give us a swift kick in the behind when we were out of line, to have goals for us even when we didn't always know what goals we should have for ourselves. I was a really fortunate kid in that I never had to look past the ends of my dinner table to find my role models. And I don't know that a lot of people get to say that, but I can't spend time or remember my dad, as he's not with us anymore. I can't spend time around my mom without just being in awe of how she and my dad did what they did with 4 kids. So I'm grateful. There have been so many people here at CCBC who've done a lot to help me along, and I don't know that he always gets a lot of public recognition, but if Charlie Seltzer is in this room right now, you should know that, again, I don't think I'd be standing here without his influence. When I first got here, it was a bit of a rough start for me. Without his encouragement to stick with it and to continue trying and to continue applying myself, I had plans to be other places. So again, if it weren't for him, I don't think I'd be here in front of you. I also owe a lot to Drs. Garrett and Davis, who have done so much to try to guide me into developing some leadership skills and to encourage me. Even after those afternoon visits where I'd close the door and put my head in my hands and wonder what they got me into or what they encouraged me to try. They've been wonderful mentors, and I would encourage you, if you're looking for a mentor to talk to those guys, you'll have to call Avon. He's somewhere else right now, I'd imagine, but I've been very fortunate there. I don't think I could let this opportunity pass without thanking the folks that I deal with every day, from my many colleagues in this room to the administrative assistants who deal with a lot of my craziness day in and day out, to the folks in the print shop and the folks who handle so many of the things that make it easy for me to go into my class day in and day out and do what I came here to do. So I can't help but have this time and have this day reflecting on how grateful I am and how much I appreciate your help and your investment back in me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jonathan. Next, Professor Robert M. Hess.
Good morning, friends, family, colleagues. I spent the past couple weeks thinking of how do you go about talking to your friends and your colleagues about this very personal trip. And I think back to a story back in 1992 when I had the opportunity to work here as an athletic trainer. Brian Farrell, Dean Keaty, Buck Workman, and Mike Carroll looked down and said, you know what, let me throw this kid a chance. And they gave me the opportunity to teach. I walked across the gym floor and I looked up and said, damn, what a neat place to be. And I'm proud to say that many years later, that I still say, dang, what a great place to be. I stand here with a lot of emotion because you do give your lifeblood to this. But I wouldn't be able to do that without family, friends, and mentors. And I want to thank you all for this trip. I look forward to walking down the path with you. And honestly, I do have to say one person, Pat Myler, thank you. You've been my second month.
Thank you, Rob. Next, Professor Barbara Lythrow.
Just a few months ago, actually a few weeks ago, I have to say, my relatives from Germany came to visit me here in Maryland. And we took a trip to New York City. And of course, we went to Central Park, and we strolled by strawberry fields. And we were there, we were listening to John Lennon's songs by a guitarist. It was wonderful, it was relaxing, and everything I had dreamed of. And then my attention went to a painting on the ground that was named after his signature song, Imagine. Now, for just a few minutes, I want you to imagine. What would it take for you to do your current job successfully outside of the United States borders, leaving loved ones behind, detaching from your social networks, your job, your culture, and ultimately your native tongue? That is my story. Often I ask my students that question, and you can sense what they will answer. Oh, I could never do this. Or it's not a easy, it's not an easy piece of cake. And I agree. The road of my 25 years journey in the US was paved with obstacles. Some were bigger than others. In my beginning years, that were at Carroll Community College, which was a branch site of Catonsville. At that time, students were highly critical of my accent. And having to write my first APS seemed like a nightmare. I still remember Dr. James Bruns, which was my vice president of instruction at Carroll Community College, and who also was a Dundalk faculty member at some point, sit with me to make sense of it all. And so what he said is, so what do you do on a regular basis, Barbara? What did you do for the past year? And all I wanted to write on my resume, or well, on my APS was, I taught 5 courses. That was my answer. And of course, this didn't go well with me and with him neither, so I had to learn to conquer my biggest elephant. And the biggest elephant I had in front of me was my language, the language of English. And here comes a story that goes even further back than 1991. When I was 17 years old, I was in my 7th year of English, and I hated the language. I really did. It was my worst grade, a D-, and when it mattered most, I had that grade. And I said to myself, never ever will I speak English again. And you all know this didn't happen, of course, because life threw me a little sweet curveball. I fell in love with a physicist, and he came with a little baggage. And his baggage was that he loved English. So over the years, I had to learn to love a man and his baggage. Now, this brought me over here, and I knew if I wanted to be successful in the United States, I had to conquer my elephant. And how did I do it? Well, one syllabus I wrote at a time. One course I taught at a time. One book I read at a time. One student I tutored at a time. One faculty member I mentored at a time. One NSF report I wrote at a time. Each publication I co-authored helped me a lot. Each graduate level course I had to write an essay in increased my confidence. And when I thought that I was on top of the English language, something else happened. It brought me down to square one. So here is a funny experience, because you don't know my numerous side normally. So you see me as the disciplined person and the German person without any laughter and humor. So here is something that I want to share with you. So, in mathematics, we teach students some rules about to memorize the signs of trigonometric functions in the 4 quadrants of the coordinate system. And an old saying goes that all students take calculus, and all what the students really need to remember here are the first letters of the 4 words. And so a few years back, a high school student came, and he said, I have a better one to use. And I thought, okay, let's see what he has for me. And he said, you could also say all slots take cash. And I thought, that's brilliant. It's typically American, money-oriented, and my students will love it. So I tried it in my online course, in a chat session. And of course, I tried to write my statement, and within seconds, a flood of responses came back. Now, all of you are already laughing or smiling. You know what had happened. I had misspelled. And I had misspelled the O with a U. So again, it held the mathematical truth. But of course, I felt very embarrassed at first. But now I love it because it truly shows you that at the core of our profession is the communication in the language. And so by making those mistakes, I'm always reminded that I came a long ways to be from 1987, when I first came, to the year 2012. So, but I also can see that my students can learn a lot from me in many regards, in terms of discipline, in terms of consistency, in terms of staying humble, in terms of how to become successful. So I think I can teach my students a really good lesson, besides the content expert that I need to be. Now, what does this medal mean to me? It's personal, and of course, for me, it's mostly about the mastery of the English language as a foundation to do the things that I do every day. So without being fluent in the language, I would have not been able to come to that point. So the front side of that medal goes to my mom. And when I was a middle school kid, at the ages 10 and 11, she sat with me every night and reviewed with me an English vocabulary. So this is one part one reason I can speak better now. And the backside goes to my dad, who was a land surveyor and who always did math riddles with me. And so the combination of English and math, you see, can really culminate well. So I can come to fruition, every dream can come to fruition. I don't do my job in my home country. I do it in a country that is dear to my heart now and that I have chosen to live in. Now, I want to come to a close. I know I have already surpassed my 3 minutes, but maybe you forgive me this time. Nothing is possible without the college community. And as everyone else said before me, I have to thank many people along the way. In 1989, when I first came here as a part-time instructor, Thea Prettyman, our former dean, she asked me a question. She said to me, "Barbara, do you want to teach statistics? Here is the book." So I had no choice than to say yes. And I still love the subject. I still teach it after 25 years. Very differently from when I started, but I do still teach it, and I have great ideas what I can do with that in the future. So there are many faculty in both the School of Math and Science as well as in the School of Applied and Information Technology who have all helped me on a daily basis through projects that were NSF funded, through committee work that I'm either chairing or I'm helping and supporting, and through projects through the grants office. You all have helped me along to understand the American higher education system better. I'm at peace now. I have found my place here at the college, and thanks to all of you who have raised me up to more than I can be.
Thank you, Barbara. If anyone complains about their APS next year, it's going to be in German. Okay, finally, Professor Carol Tipton.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Carol, and I'm a workaholic. Just ask my family, they will tell you. Speaking of which, in the course of my academic career, I've been privileged to have a number of excellent teachers, and I'm happy that two of them are here with us today. First and foremost is my 92-year young father, who from an early age instilled in me the joy of learning. He would always make up little games like odds and evens and state capitals, and it was so much fun I didn't realize I was learning. He also inspired me to always to aim for excellence, so I appreciate his great contribution. Secondly, in graduate school, I learned about American Sign Language. I learned about deaf culture. I learned about the deaf community. But I really learned these things from an insider's point of view from being married to my husband for the past 42 years. Not only has he been helpful to me personally, anytime we need a guest speaker for classes to teach our students about deaf culture or about ASL, he's always willing to come. Last spring, he even gave up a day of golf to do this, which was very appreciative. He also has been in a number of videos that we have made to help instruct our students, so I really appreciate his contribution. I've also learned a lot from my two daughters who are here today. First, from my older daughter, who's an English teacher, both here as an adjunct and also in middle school. I've learned to appreciate some of the finer attributes of the English language, such as the Oxford comma, among other things. And from my younger daughter, I've learned to appreciate the true meaning of compassion as she works to combat human trafficking for the International Justice Mission. So I appreciate my family more than I can say. I also appreciate my CCBC family, especially the INTR program, which has meant so much. And I look forward to continuing to carry out the mission of CCBC, which I had to memorize for middle states, to provide an accessible, affordable, high-quality education for all of our students. Thank you.
So please join me in congratulating once again all of the people who've been promoted.